So, I mean, just first of all about Craftsy, you know, the whole forum, the platform is wonderful because it's very interactive because you can post, obviously, photographs to show myself and also your other people who are enrolled in the class, but also to be able to ask questions. So you can actually post questions and, you know, several times a day. I have nearly 7,000 students within my 2 Craftsy classes, so it keeps me pretty busy. But I, you know, answer questions several times a day. So if you're having any drama in the kitchen and if something's not going quite right, you don't understand something, that's a great way because you can actually just post the question and then I'll answer in the best way I can. But it just really makes it very interactive, and I think sort of some of you that maybe are, you know, don't have a lot of connection with other cake decorators in more remote areas of the U.S. or the world, it enables you to be able to sort of keep up with what people are doing and how people are using the flowers. So I hope you'll enjoy the Craftsy classes, those of you who haven't signed up for those yet, and they're a great way to learn.
That's wonderful.
So,
you know, that makes it even more worth the money that you're going to pay for the class, because then you know that you have someone there to ask questions if you ever get stumped. So that's very valuable right there. So you were going to say something?
Well, I was going to so you'd like me to talk a little bit about my work with Albaduster and some of those things?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Yes. So I've been working with Albaduster Imports. They're a Swiss-based company. They're in Gaithersburg, and they have several warehouses throughout the U.S. But I went on board with them several years ago as a spokesperson for their line of rolled fondant. And they produce a Swiss-made rolled fondant called Masa. And there are several members of the Masa family. But the really exciting part is that because of my love of fashion and interior design, each year I've been able to bring out a trend color. So the one that's actually on your screen at the moment, that is the 2013 trend color this year, which is peony pink. So this cake really focuses on a lot of hot trends. Ombre, which is huge at the moment. Ombre is a graduated color palette. So you can see here, this is being done in a little more of an untraditional way. A lot of times when you see ombre, you will see like it more as like strips of rolled fondant. And here I actually have used the peony petals. So on the top of the cake, there is a Gumpaste Peony, which actually is a Gumpaste Peony that I show in my Craftsy class. And then I actually use the medium-sized peony petals. So there's actually 147 peony petals on the cake. So just a few. And those are actually done in ombre style with 50-50 paste, which is half gum paste and half fondant. Or what I've done is I've modified the fondant. That means the darker pink at the bottom is the actual peony pink, which is a new trend color this year. And then I actually modified that by adding Tylose powder and vegetable shortening to it. And then I did the first layer of petals. And then each layer I just added another 50 grams, approximately 2 ounces of white modified fondant to that. So each layer becomes subsequently lighter and lighter coming to the top. But this is obviously a very hot style at the moment. And then also the cake showcases another thing that's very trendy at the moment, which is tall cakes. So this is actually an 8x8. So this is an 8-inch high base tier. So you're going to see a lot of these like oversized cakes where you have these taller tiers. And a combination of tall and shallow. So the cake is 8 inches high, the base cake, and then the top cake is 5 inches by 3 inches high. But also the other thing the cake really focuses on is trend color, peony pink or hot pink color. And gray is a huge color this year for weddings, and a lot of these darker grays. So actually the cake stand came from Target, and it's sort of like a dark, almost like an elephant gray color, so it has a little bit of brown to it. But a lot of dark gray and pink being used this year. So this is a cake that I just finished. So.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. In fact, I have to add in, after you sent me these pictures, I was asked to do a cake for somebody that I did just this weekend, and it was pink and gray. And I just thought, oh, how interesting. I thought that was very, I wouldn't say coincidental, because it's true. It is a very trendy color set right now, the pinks and grays. And so I just have to add in here that I wish that I had ordered this massa fondant for that, because pink, and a really good hot pink, is so hard to get. It is very challenging. So this is definitely worth it.
But what's also nice with it, you know, the sort of bottom of the cake is the actual color the rolled fondant comes in, and but it's also it's a very stable color, so it doesn't fade, which is really nice. And then of course you can mix it, so the round, the taller cake was actually covered with a very pale pink, where I actually took like a white, and then I added like a little bit of the pink to it to make a pale pink. Mm-hmm. So you can pretty much take it right down to a soft baby pink for something like a baby shower, or use it obviously full strength. So
that's great.
Well, thank you.
And massa fondant is honestly, that's the fondant of choice for me. I know that everybody has their preferences, but I've always been partial to the massa fondant.
Well, it's a little softer. I mean, because it's made in Switzerland, it's made for using more on an entremet-style cake, which is a cake built in rings, more of a European-style cake, which is really a soft cake. So the great thing about the massa, a lot of people, when they're used to using some of the other brands of fondant, it is soft, but the great thing about it is it stays soft on the cake. So when you cover a cake on Thursday, when your client or bride cuts the cake on Saturday, the rolled fondant is still nice and soft on the cake. Mm-hmm. But the nice thing about it, from a point of view of for a beginner, it has a lot of workability, and you have plenty of time. You know, you're not rolling it out and it's already cracked and crazed and dry. You have plenty of time. So covering unusual shaped cakes, or like the tall cakes shown here, it gives you plenty of time to be able to sort of work with the product. And so that's where I find, as an instructor, teaching with the product, my beginners, especially in the rolled fondant class, they have much more time to master it before it starts to dry. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very true. And also, you do have to think about the fact that if you do need it on the stiffer side, you can always add Tylose, or you can, mix in some Gumpaste, or that type of a thing. So.
Or even a little extra powdered sugar, because you can even just work a little powdered sugar into it. It will tighten it up as well, if it is a little soft. So.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so this is a close-up picture of the ruffly part that you used the peony cutter. Did you actually vein each and every one of them, or did you?
Yes. So they actually were rolled out through the pasta machine. I use a pasta machine, a KitchenAid pasta machine, for all my rolling out. I rolled out number 4 thickness, and then I cut out the 21 petals I needed for each layer, and then I put some of them into a plastic flap, and then I just pressed them onto one side of a silicone peony veiner with a cosmetic sponge, and then ruffled the edge with a Dresden tool on the coated side of the pad, and then turn the pad over to the soft side, and then work from the outside to the inside. So you create this very sort of soft, almost like a feathery type of effect. And you can see here the sort of the ombre concept. But the way I found was best to do the ombre is, as I explained, I start off with the darker color, and then do my first layer of petals, and then I add white to that to do then my next layer of petals, because ultimately you don't end up wasting a lot of product. You just end up with the lighter color at the end. And but there are many ways. I mean, Maggie Austin, who's a close friend, and she was actually a student at the French pastry school, a chef instructor. Maggie Austin has a wonderful Craftsy class on frills and fondant frills. Maggie prepares her different colors, her ombre colors to start off with, which is another way you can do that. And so there are many, many ways you can go about this ombre concept.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen Maggie's class on Craftsy also, and that is just I love the ruffles. It's
beautiful,
fun.
Yeah. That's very much Maggie's signature style. So she does a really nice job with that, and that's very much become her sort of signature style with her cakes. But ombre, just to show you, this was done with a peony petal, but you can, actually on a recent issue of American Cake Decorating, was one done with rose petals, so you could obviously change out. But I thought it was fun because I had a peony on the top to use the peony petal to sort of carry the whole peony theme through the whole concept.
That's a very beautiful peony too. Very beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
This is taught in your Craftsy class, right?
It is, and that's actually the small peony, because during the Craftsy class, obviously I show all the different stages of peony, because like that peony just has 5 wide petals on it, but I do peonies that are much larger that have up to 25 or 30 wide petals. So on my Craftsy class, you go right through from this smaller peony, because this is only a 5-inch cake, so we obviously wouldn't want like an 8-inch peony on top of a little 5-inch cake. So
yeah, that's very true.
And this one was done when it actually was colored with the Albadusta Peony pink in the white gum paste, but very, very soft. I just made this a really, really pale pink, and then I used 2 of my signature dusting powders, which is American Beauty. I did like just little highlights, accent pink on the edge, and then some prairie green, which is a nice soft green on the peony to finish off the top. And you can see how I've taken the color. I matched the color to the cake pedestal. The cake pedestal I found in Target, and it was a really nice color, and it has like sort of almost like a rib design, like a grosgrain on the edge of it. So then I used actually a PME ribbed roller, so I actually rolled out some gum paste and cut it, textured it, and then cut it with a multi-ribbon cutter. And then the P on the top of the cake is actually a patchwork cutter. It's like a large letter, which is sort of nice to the plastic style. So just sort of tied in the colors from the cake stand up to the top of the cake to give a nice balance. So actually, in this case, I'm actually a week in like 10 days time, but for Albadusta, I do a series of road shows. So I'm actually doing a road show not next Monday, but the Monday after in Orlando at the Ritz-Carlton in Orlando, and then I'll be in New York, I'll be in Chicago, I'll be in Gaithersburg, I'll be in Maui, I'll be in Honolulu, potentially maybe LA as well, but doing road shows. So actually during the road show, I will be actually showing how I did a lot of the steps of this cake, the ombre cake with the peonies on the top of it, and also other confections like the little cake pops and lollipops and cookies and other things in the same color palette. But I will be posting that on my Facebook page, so once we know the dates and confirm. So this just shows some little mini cakes. These are little small petite cakes. So these are actually like a little 2-tier cake. It's actually a 2-inch and a 1-inch cake. And then the round cake, that's actually the biggest cake. That's a 3-inch cake. And those cake boards are actually made from gum paste. So I just rolled out some of the Albadusta gum paste and cut out with round cookie cutters. This is a great way when you're doing a little mini cake, because then you can just use the cake board as well. And it's sort of a fun way to do like it's a bit like an oversized petit four. And the little small square cake is done like a little gift package, and then the back round cake is just piped with some buttercream with a little sugar pearl on the top of it.
I love the idea of the base being made out of gum paste. I made a little smash cake for a birthday cake this last weekend, and that would have been really nice to have just a little edible base, so that you don't have to the baby can eat everything.
Well,
that's very clever.
To find little, sometimes small cake boards are difficult, but, so you can see there on that little square one, that's sort of perfect with little, so that's just an Antico nesting cookie cutter set with a serrated edge. And you can also, of course, just you could even do them out of rolled fondant if you just leave them a couple of days to dry. They would dry hard enough to roll out some fondant, cut them out, put them on some like fun foam or some parchment paper to dry. And then, you can just cover your cake and then attach it with a little bit of melted chocolate. And this is sort of a cute way to be able to sort of make a little small cake board.
So the one in the back that's round, I see that it's got some texture to it. Do you want to tell us how you did that?
That's actually
texture?
That's actually done with an acrylic textured rolling pin. It's actually a peony design. So it actually is like more of an oriental peony with the stamens in the middle. But I actually used that also on the top of the round cake. You see how there's like an insert of a paler pink on the round cake. So I just rolled out the fondant. And once I'd rolled out the fondant, I smoothed it with a fondant smoother and then rolled across with a textured roller and then draped it onto the cake. But when I do that, I don't use fondant smoothers because you will basically erase the design. I just rolled it, and I just usually use some cotton gloves or some vinyl gloves and just gently press it onto the cake. But if your fondant's already perfectly smooth, so that's why you smooth it with a fondant smoother, texture it, and then lay it on the top, and then you won't lose the design. because if you start using fondant smoothers, obviously you're going to erase the design off the fondant. But it just gives textural detail. This is also a very popular year for texture. You're going to see a lot of texture used in interior design and in fashion, and so again, that's a big thing. So different textures are a really fun way to add interest to a cake as well.